Now, the Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from downtown Baton Rouge, this is Hunt Palmer.
Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Denton Day, 30 minutes from right now, talking about the national landscape in college football. Always enjoy our conversations with Denton, so we'll catch up with him at the bottom of the hour. Crank up the top of the hour as we do every single week. My picks against the number. Beck, I promised you a 9-0 week. Did I deliver?
No.
You said that very quickly, very decisively.
Yes, because I knew 100% without any question that you were not even close to being 9-0.
How close was I?
Not close at all.
4-5. Not a terrible week.
Terrible week.
Pretty solid effort.
Pretty bad effort.
Had Arkansas minus 7.5. They lost, so that's a loser. Had the Vols minus 38.5. UAB, Trent Dilfer with the backdoor.
That's right. That was the backdoor. That's right.
That was the backdoor cover. Had Auburn plus 7.5. That hit. Had the Mississippi State Bulldogs covering against Northern Illinois, 21.5. That did get home as well. Had South Carolina standing with it 9.5. That hit. They lost by 9. Had Florida plus 7.5. Billy Boy did not get it done. Had Georgia State Panthers plus 28.5. They gave up 70 points. That was bad. That was not a great pick. And then I had I said that Texas would win 50-0 and covered the 39.5. They won 55-0, so that was a winner there. 4-5 on the week. Also had Tulane covering. They did not cover. So storylines from the week. I think I've got to start with Arkansas and Memphis. That's just a game you cannot lose if you're Arkansas. You got a 2-score lead, and you just can't get stops against Memphis. You let them rip off a 65-yard plus touchdown run. And then you've got a chance to go down there and kick a field goal to take the lead under a minute, and you fumble. What are you doing? What are you doing? There's no excuse for fumbling in that spot. You have to. The only thing that matters when you're inside the 10-yard line, down by 2, is holding on to the ball. I don't care if you get 3 yards. I don't care if you lose 1 yard. Hold on to the ball. And they get it knocked out. Nice play by the Memphis defensive player, but again, I don't care how many yards you gain. Just hold it and let them kick the field goal. Awful, awful stuff there from Arkansas, and they just find ways to lose. And they are going to pay for the fact that they wouldn't swallow the money and buy Sam Pittman out of his contract. He could have been fired 2 years ago after 4-8. He could have been fired last year. They decided to keep him around. They let him have Bobby Petrino to coach the offense, and they are good on offense. But they're terrible on defense. And there have been times where they've been good on defense and terrible on offense. Because you've got a head coach who doesn't have an expertise in terms of game planning. He's an offensive line coach. And now that he doesn't have a significant amount of money to go pay the players, you don't have the talent. And the question now becomes with Arkansas, and not about losing to Memphis, which is embarrassing, but you've got an athletic director who just last week addressed the Little Rock Touchdown Club and suggested that the athletic department is not set up to succeed in football. Which, yeah, you're telling that to the Little Rock Touchdown Club or quarterback club or whatever it is. But now you're about to go interview head coaching candidates. Who's going to take that job when the athletic director says, yeah, we can't really compete in football? Who wants that job? Somebody just wants to collect a buyout? It's a mess on the Hill right now in Fayetteville. There's no doubt about that. And it was just an embarrassing loss for the Hogs on Saturday. Florida, I'm stunned as I sit here that Billy Napier still has a job. Stunned. They cannot move the ball at all, and that is Billy Napier's side of the football. And on that side of the football, you've got the guy who's supposed to save the program, the 5-star recruit, and he's in his second year, which by this point, you're a veteran. The elite players, the great talents that become great players and get drafted leave after 3 years. So when you're midway through year 2, you're a vet. And DJ Lagway can't make any plays. They can't move the ball. And Miami's got a nice defense, but you look up and they can't score on South Florida, and they can't score on LSU, and they can't score on Miami. So now this is 3 weeks in a row where your offense is just inept, and that's his side of the ball. So this is so much worse than Dan Mullen or Jim McElwain ever were. And Florida's still just kind of kicking this can down the road. He'll be fired. He's not going to finish the season. But I'm stunned that he hasn't been fired yet. And then Florida will be in the market for a new head coach. I was on the record, vocal, thought LSU should hire Billy Napier. I talked to some folks in Lafayette. They're just glowing reviews from him. Comes from the Saban tree. Has a system to run offensively. Won a ton of games and sustained that success at Louisiana Lafayette. But you look up at what they showed. I mean, they scored 7 points. 7 points in the game at Miami. Just not nearly good enough for Billy Napier and the Florida Gators. Other storylines. Briefly, Beck, I'll get your thoughts on this. Arch Manning flexing over a Sam Houston player.
Yeah.
You got any thoughts on that? Because I've got a few.
Yeah, don't do that. Just don't do it. You can't.
I'm going to reach a little bit further. I don't know Arch Manning. I didn't watch any of his games at Newman. I've got a reasonable sense of his upbringing and therefore his personality. Like reasonable. Not going to claim to know him personally or watch a lot of his interviews or anything like that. But like, I think we all we know where he came from. We know where he grew up. And we know generally what his demeanor and what his family kind of presents itself as. That taunting a Sam Houston player screamed to me about a young person trying to be something that he's not as a show. To try to prove like, oh, I am big bad. Like it felt like it did not feel like a spur of the moment thing that happened. It felt like a forced thing. And it looked really, really silly. If you want to bow up to an Oklahoma safety that you just scored over, like that'll endear yourself to the Texas fans. You might get a 15-yard penalty, but that'll endear yourself to them. This just looked really silly. And for those that didn't see it, like Arch ran a touchdown in, a Sam Houston player fell down, was on his butt on the end zone, and Arch like flexed over him and walked toward him. I just don't get the sense that that's what he's ever been on a football field. And it felt like he was just trying to be something he's not because he realizes how much scrutiny he's under. It's an unenviable spot that Arch Manning is in, no doubt. But I thought it was a really, really weird deal. And then you got Ole Miss playing against Tulane. We're going to talk a lot of Ole Miss this week. But they do, at this point, have I think controversy is probably too strong a word. They have a quarterback discussion that's got to be had. And we'll talk about it all week. But Trinidad Chambliss is playing great. He's running well. He's throwing it well. And like we saw Austin Simmons in the game last week in an emergency come in when Chambliss got hurt, and he couldn't walk. So the discussion is probably not for Ole Miss. Do we start Trinidad Chambliss or do we start the incumbent starter who he kind of anointed in this spot? Or I don't think that's the discussion. I think the discussion is, do we have to rush Austin Simmons back or not? And I think the answer is probably not. Because I doubt he's 100% for the LSU game. I mean, the guy that could barely walk on the field 2 weeks ago, to feel 100% on that ankle, I doubt it. There were people that watched him warm up, talking about Simmons, watching him warm up on Saturday, like said he looked okay, but like certainly not fully healthy. So like, do you go with the healthy backup or do you go with the slightly gimpy starter? I think that's probably the discussion that we'll have. Either way, they laid Tulane to waste on Saturday, just never competitive at any point. 45-10 was the final. It was 23-3 at halftime, and the Revs scored 22 points in the fourth quarter. Chambliss threw for 307 yards and also ran for 112. So I realize that Tulane's not LSU, but he's capable. And so they probably don't have to rush Simmons back is kind of my thought. But this is a funny thing to think about on Monday to me, because I live in this world where we're constantly writing updates and reporting the news that we hear and seeing what comes out. And like, we're going to talk about who the starter is going to be on Saturday all week. And we'll read the injury report and make an inference from that. And we'll do all those things. And really the true answer is not going to come out until literally Ole Miss breaks the huddle on Saturday. Lane's not going to say a word. The injury report will be deceptive. We're not going, but we'll talk about it all week, and we'll report the injury report news as if that carries any weight whatsoever. And the fact of the matter is that we're not going to learn the answer until Saturday. So that's where this is headed here. Ole Miss beats Tulane 45-10. And then Vanderbilt scored 70, as I said. So we'll throw them some fun.
Yeah, well, of course, Auburn, Oklahoma, and then South Carolina, Missouri are both pretty good games.
Yeah, they were. I thought that Oklahoma's defense once again looked good. I thought John Mateer threw some really nice balls. I thought that it was amazing to me that an officiating crew can be told all offseason not to let teams do deceptive plays. And you can do a play that's so obviously deceptive then it's not flagged. Like, everyone in the building knew when he snapped the ball and the guy was wide open with nobody on that, this was something that they did pre-snap. And then for Hugh Freeze to say that, and then the SC to come out and apologize and say, yeah, that was a miss. Like, how does that happen?
Yeah.
I get how you miss a hold. I get how you miss a guy foot razor thin, stepping out of bounds or not. I get, not seeing some things. That's so obvious. And they don't throw the flag. That's wild to me. And then, Missouri got a nice win. I thought that game would be close. It was pretty close. And
you think Sellers was really 100%? Probably,
no.
I mean, no, not at all.
He's probably a little cloudy, but, he'll be 100% if nothing else happens for LSU.
Yeah. And Missouri, I mean, now that they've got Alabama, Vanderbilt, and Oklahoma. So those are going to be their real test here. I don't know that I would say that many people would think Missouri can compete with Alabama. Alabama has, they've looked better than they did the first week, but Missouri's in an interesting spot. I think they've played really well. Bo Prabula looks like he looks the part so far.
No, he does for sure. This is more proof to me that South Carolina is just not in a position where they can have that big season. They just had 9 wins last year and then lose a lot of talent. You're just not going to restock those shelves at South Carolina with Shane Beamer at the coach. Like, he might have another good team next year. He might have another good team in 2 years. And I don't think Shane Beamer is going to trot out a 4-7 squad that stinks. But like, the suggestion that they were going to build off of that was always a stretch to me. And they have not. They've lost 2 games to Vanderbilt and Missouri, who are fine teams, but they're not elite teams by any stretch. So
and Oklahoma, so they got Kent State this week, and they play Texas in the Cotton Bowl. And then they go on the road to South Carolina. And then after that, Ole Miss, Tennessee, Alabama, Missouri, LSU.
Yeah, they're close. It's absurd.
Yeah,
for sure. All right, let's look at the Southeastern Conference. What's my season-long total as far as the I was 4-5 this week. So
that's correct. Your season-long total is 16-25, Hunt.
I'm close to 500.
No, you're not.
Could get there this week.
It's time for Costanza, Hunt. It's time.
I was seeing the board so clearly on Friday.
Obviously not. Obviously you weren't seeing it you were seeing it very blurry. 4-5.
Hogs minus 7.5. Not a good pick.
8-11 in the last 2 weeks.
It's not that bad.
It's not good either.
We'll try again on Friday. When we come back, we'll update you on LSU's injuries next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. You go by and see the folks at Genesis. That's my suggestion to you. Everyone's not in the car market all the time. Maybe that is coming up later this fall. Maybe that's 2 years from now. But when you do make the decision to get into the market for a new vehicle, just put Genesis on your list. It's a luxury brand at a reasonable price. And the folks over at Genesis Baton Rouge are going to take care of you. No detail goes unnoticed. That's from the facility to the line of vehicles to the staff. They're going to treat you like a guest, not a customer. They're not going to upsell you or pressure you or deceive you in any way. Those stereotypes exist for a reason. They do happen. Not at Genesis. They're just going to take care of you and help you get behind the wheel of one of the finest cars on the road. Every single new purchase comes with America's best warranty. Ask them about it. They're happy to tell you about it. You probably haven't been behind the wheel of a Genesis. Change that. Get behind the wheel. They'll come to you for a test drive. If you want to purchase that car, they'll deliver it to you. You don't even have to set foot on the dealership lot. Genesis of Baton Rouge. They're an airline at PQ. GenesisBatonRouge.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Let's talk some injuries for LSU. Brian Kelly updated the status of 4 injured Tigers today. We'll start with the positives. Traynez Green is going to play against Ole Miss. For those that saw the video, did not see the video over the weekend, Traynez did warm up for the game on Saturday. He had a knee brace on, but he was going through warm-ups full speed in street clothes. He was running, he was jumping, he was making one-handed catches. He feels pretty good, I'm told. So Traynez Green is a go for LSU against Ole Miss. That's a big, big get for LSU to have him back in a game that is going to require them to score some points. You cannot rely on your defense to hold Ole Miss to 13 points this weekend. Like, they may, and I'll be pumped if they do, but I can't rely on that. And to have Traynez Green back, that's a big, big deal. Another one on the positive side, West Weeks did run yesterday on Sunday. Brian Kelly said he hit 90% of his top speed. He's dealing with that strained calf, and probable was the word that Brian Kelly used today. So Devon Keys was very good in the 2 weeks that he played, and he'll be certainly an option this week against Ole Miss. But West Weeks is probably on track to play alongside his brother when LSU goes to Oxford on Saturday. So that's the good news on those. Traynez Green, ready to roll. West Weeks, just about ready to roll. He'll be good to go on Saturday. On the lesser news, you've got running back Caden Durham, who rolled his ankle on Saturday. I will be honest. I missed this. I didn't see when it happened. I'm doing a lot of things in the press box. I am writing and tweeting and getting things ready for the post game. Like, I'm doing a lot of stuff. I usually see injuries. I did not see Caden Durham go down. I
was watching the game on TV and I didn't see it either. It must have been just kind of tweaked it and came off the field, and then said I can't go back in, which it's what they should do against Southeastern. Don't need to risk that. But Brian Kelly said today in regards to Durham that he will be day to day, better than we thought is what he said, and it does not show signs of a high ankle sprain, so he's anxious to give it a shot and play, but we'll monitor him throughout the week. So you've got a low ankle sprain, and obviously that's not a great position to have an ankle issue. LSU's depth at running back is not great. You do not have JT Lindsey available, so it's basically Juwan Johnson and Harlem Berry. Like, that's essentially what, and Caleb Jackson, sorry. And that's basically what you've got. Juwan Johnson got the lion's share of the reps when Durham went out on Saturday. I thought he looked good. We've talked to Juwan a couple of times. He's pretty comfortable back there. He does understand the offense. He learned it from a quarterback's perspective. And he's big and physical and knows what he's doing with the football. So he's a talented guy. I don't think the drop off from Durham to Johnson and to Berry, I don't think it's massive, but the depth is just not there. Just to have those three guys and that's it is a little bit frightening for LSU from a running back perspective. You haven't given Berry very many reps. Caleb Jackson hasn't been used very much in the last year and a half. And Johnson just switched to the position. So it's a tenuous spot there for running back. Hopefully Caden Durham can get some treatment this week and can give it a go in whatever capacity he's available on Saturday. But it's certainly a question at this point. I think Juwan Johnson might be the starter. I would like to see Harlem Gary get some more carries than he did on Saturday, just to continue to get his feet wet and get him comfortable. But Juwan Johnson got a lot of those carries, so we'll see how that goes. Caden Durham, probably questionable at this point for Ole Miss. Gabe Relaford will not play against Ole Miss, the Tiger defensive end. Let me get this word correct, because
Brian Kelly used a very specific word, a subluxation of his shoulder. I don't know what that is. But he was in a sling on Saturday, and there is now further information that's going to be gathered today and tomorrow so they can determine whether or not Relaford can play through it later on after he misses a little bit of time, or they need to have surgery, which likely is going to cost him the rest of the season. That determination, as Brian Kelly said today at the podium, has not yet been made. They don't know what that is going to look like, but it is a significant issue. And it's just maybe, I'm not sure if it's a pain tolerance thing or if it is a structural thing to make it worse. We'll see, but they're going to get some more information on Gabe Relaford. That doesn't sound great to me. I'm not a doctor, and I don't even know what subluxation means. But here's the thing that we talked about a lot since August. There is no position on the field where LSU doesn't have a little bit of depth. I would suggest probably your biggest drop-off from starter to next man up is probably at the star, because Harold Perkins' skill set is unique to him. But you saw Whit Weeks go out against Florida. Devon Keys stepped in and was great. You saw A.J. Halsey go down in the game and couldn't play against Clemson in the first half of that suspension. Jordan Gilbert stepped in, played very well. LSU didn't miss a beat. You got to go to Ashton Stamps at corner. He's played a lot. You got 4 guys at defensive tackle. You got 4 guys on the edge. So you got more than 4, but 4 that are proven. So with Relaford going down, still got Pyburn, still got Payton. They're going to play the most. Then you've got Jamari Butler, who had a nice game against Southeastern on Saturday. Those 3 are your main guys, but Dylan Carpenter played a lot on Saturday. You've also got Kalaj Cobbins, who had a really good camp last year and is a second-year player. That's depth. So you still got 4 or 5 guys you can go to at defensive end, 3 of whom are very, very proven veterans. So I'd rather play with Gabe Relaford. I'd rather Gabe Relaford be out there. That would be a nice add for LSU, but they're going to be missing him for a little bit, if not the rest of the year, and they still have significant depth there at defensive end. So I think that's all good. So to put everything in the summation, looking at Tradez, good to go. West Weeks, almost good to go. Should be ready to roll on Saturday. Caden Durham, iffy this week. We'll see how the week progresses. And Gabe Relaford going to miss this week and could miss a little bit more time with a significant shoulder issue that removed him from the game back on Saturday. So that's your injury catch-up here on this Monday. You can read about it over at louisianasports.net. We'll step aside. Denton Day. Let's talk some football, SEC, National College Football, and maybe some Commanders as well with Denton Day next.
The Hunt Palmer Show. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Hope that work week's off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge every Monday. We chat with our guy Denton Day, SiriusXM's College Football Overtime. Get a thought on national college football landscape. He joins us now on the Jim's Farms hotline. Denton, how are we feeling?
Hunt, what's up, man? A great week of action. So I'm feeling pretty good. I know you guys are feeling good down there, too.
Yeah, things are all right. We figured so with the FCS team coming in, but an interesting one coming up this week because the boys head to Oxford to tangle with Lane Kiffin and the Rebels. Let's start with Florida and Miami. 26-7. Florida doesn't really put up a fight offensively. How good's Miami?
I think they're really good. I think they're the best team in the country. You know, this Florida defense is, as you guys know, it's a very good defense, and Miami was able to put up some points on them. It wasn't the best game of Carson Beck. I feel like what we saw against Florida was a much more realistic version of Carson Beck. Not to say that he's always going to turn the ball over, but the Heisman frontrunner thing I was never fully in on with him. So I think this is a much more realistic version, but they proved that even when he's not playing completely out of his mind, they're capable of winning games. So we just got to make sure that Mario Cristobal doesn't screw 1 or 2 up in November, and I think they'll be heading in a good direction in the ACC.
Indiana 63, Illinois 10. I didn't see that one coming. Fernando Mendoza throws 5 touchdowns. What'd you make of it?
I saw Indiana winning. I did not see them hanging 63 on the opponent. I don't even know if you're Illinois how you come back from that. Yeah, that's a real win for Indiana. They hadn't had one yet. They had beaten a bunch of bad teams, but to do that to a top 10 team in the country, I know it was at their place, but still, I mean, that was pretty insane. I think I look at them with a little bit of a different perspective. This Mendoza kid's really good. Doing that to Indiana State's one thing, but doing it to Illinois, I still think Illinois is a halfway decent team, but I think Indiana is a legitimately, potentially good team. We don't get to often see teams that are not traditionally good have a good season and then use that as momentum, but they've done a really good job, building off of 2024, even with some changes, obviously quarterback being one of the changes. There's something about Kurt Cignetti, man. I mean, he's not my favorite in the world. He's a little arrogant, but he gets to talk all the mess he wants to this week after you hang 63 the way they did.
I just feel like that's a bad loss for Nebraska, 27-30 on their home field. I get Michigan's got some talent, but it's just, if you're going to get out of neutral in the Matt Rule era, that's a game you need to win, and they didn't win it. What do you think?
I'm in the same boat with you. I thought Raiola played fine. I thought the run defense for Nebraska was atrocious. And I know Michigan is one of the better run teams in the country because they certainly are one of the better passing teams in the country. But you have to be able to stop the run. You should be understanding we are going to sell out to stop the run. If Underwood beats you with his arm, hey man, the freshman played really, really well, but you can't let them beat you on the ground. And I thought, specifically in the second half, they go in with that Hail Mary, and then they come out and they just get walked right down on. I couldn't fathom how bad the defense was, at least in the trenches in the second half. So I'm with you. That's a bad loss. They'll have an opportunity at redemption later in the year with some of the teams on their schedule, but they needed that one, and it would have put them in a completely different, I think, trajectory had they gotten that one.
Texas Tech goes to Utah 34-10. They spent a lot of money on that roster. It showed up on Saturday night.
Yeah, they were good. And I think that game was a little bit more about maybe some people having too high of expectations for Devin Dampier. He's a good player, certainly, but Utah had been putting up some pretty substantial numbers, points-wise, numbers that we're not accustomed to them putting up, and I think everyone was running with this idea that the bookmakers included that this Devin Dampier kid is the truth, and it's not to say that he's not, but Texas Tech has a legitimate championship-caliber roster. They paid a lot of money, as you mentioned, to make it that way. I think they're a really, really good team, even with the backup quarterback in. It's a big, big win for them, but to me, that was more about people overinflating Utah.
You find Texas Tech to be the favorite in the Big 12?
Yes. Yeah, mostly because I don't really trust anybody else. So it's not that I super duper trust them. It's just like I'm not putting the eggs in the basket of some of those other teams.
Okay. Let's go to the Southeastern Conference. Oklahoma 24, Auburn 17. Hugh Freeze did a good job dodging the question about the trick play. What did you think about that one?
I thought it was creative. I can understand if you're an Auburn fan why you're really, really upset at that one. I sometimes I do question, because Auburn was ranked, I guess it kind of makes sense, but burning a play like that in September, I feel like was maybe a little too soon. I would have saved that one, especially knowing what their schedule is to potentially steal a win when they're running the gauntlet against like an Alabama or like a Tennessee when they go back-to-back away games. So I would have saved that one if they wanted to use it. So I feel like you can't use it again. It was fun while it lasted. I think they still would have won regardless. I didn't like burning that play in September.
What do you feel about Auburn and Oklahoma moving forward after watching that?
Oklahoma's good. I think defensively, them and LSU are probably the two best defenses, not in the SEC, but the country right now. Like the way that Brent Venables is coaching up that defense, they're fast, man, and they get after the quarterback. They're going to be a really tough out, even though they're running that gauntlet. The question is just going to be, can John Mateer consistently put together really strong performances while they're running that gauntlet? If the answer to that question is yes, they're going to be at least at the top or echelon of the SEC by the end of the season. If the answer to that's no, then they're going to be kind of hovering around the middle tier. But I think defensively they're good. It's just about the quarterback.
And Auburn?
I kind of like Auburn. Like I walked away from that game thinking they're not nearly as bad as I thought they were, because I kind of thought Oklahoma was going to crush them. I didn't think the defense was going to be able to stop Oklahoma's offense. And while Jackson Arnold is not my favorite quarterback in the world, I do think that they're at least a good enough team around him to where they might still be able to get like 8 wins.
Ole Miss just destroyed Tulane 45-10. Trinidad Chambliss goes for 419 total yards against the Green Waves. Does Lane Kiffin have a decision to make, in your opinion?
Yeah, he does. And, I'm a little swayed by that because we had Chambliss on this weekend, and he was a great dude, so, I'm kind of rooting for him. But I think he's really, really good. And I can't really recall a time where Ole Miss had a quarterback that was a legitimate threat, at least in the Lane Kiffin era, with his arms and his legs. Now, Tulane is obviously different than the defenses that Ole Miss is going to see, and with better competition, we'll get kind of a better idea as to what this Chambliss kid is really going to be about. But the way that he was confident, and I thought there was a very big distinction in his confidence level from his first start to his second start. That was really impressive to me. So I would go with him moving forward. That's a decision for Lane Kiffin, not for me, but I think they have one with the backup quarterback.
Well, let's talk about Ole Miss and LSU. That's a game that's coming up on Saturday. It'll be 2:30 on ABC there in Oxford. Line open with LSU is a 1.5 favorite. It's been bet all the way to Ole Miss -2.5. Now, how do you feel about that one?
I think that line is going to be swinging the entire week, so that there's going to be a point probably Wednesday or Thursday where it might go back in the direction of LSU, and then maybe by the time kick comes, it'll go the other way. I do like LSU. I think defensively they're going to be really, really good, and like the performance, even if it is Chambliss, the performance that he had this weekend is not going to, I don't think that's going to happen against this LSU defense, but the defense for Ole Miss is vulnerable. And I do think that Garrett Nussmeier can work against that defense pretty well. I'm thinking it'll be a little bit more of a higher scoring affair, not a crazy high scoring affair, not a track meet by any sense, but I do think both teams will be able to put some points up, but if that line is going in the direction of Ole Miss at 2.5, I feel really good about LSU.
Here's a game that's lost some juice over the last 3 weeks. Notre Dame is in Fayetteville to play Arkansas. Those two teams are 3-4 combined now. Notre Dame at 4.5-point favorite. Feel like it could be the end for Sam Pittman here?
I think so. I think Notre Dame is in a position where they have to get some style points too. So there's going to be a real emphasis on trying to put up as many points as possible. And you know this, I know this, blowouts are what kill coaches on the rocks.
Yep.
It's the final straw where you just get the doors completely blown off you. And then the person in the boosters who you're trying to sway to pay some money sees that and they're like, all right, we're done flirting. Here's the money. Take it. Get that guy out of there.
Yeah, we'll see. Ohio State's going to Seattle. Is that a tricky spot for them?
It will be. It's more so just because I still don't really know what Julian saying is. Like, my issue with Ohio State being number one right now and not Miami is that they beat Texas, but Texas clearly did not have a capable quarterback at that point. I still don't really know if Arch is capable. Call me crazy for Sam Houston not swaying me the way that maybe it did for some people. But I just don't really know what the quarterback is against good quality defenses and good quality talent. So I'm a little skeptical. I still think Ohio State's going to win it. I'm not thinking that Washington's going to beat them, but I think we'll learn a lot more about Ohio State as a program or as a team this year while watching them play teams that are actually in their weight class.
I'll be doing post-game from a sports book in South Louisiana on Saturday when these two games are on the screens. Hopefully I'm in a good mood. Number 6, Oregon at Penn State. Number 17, Alabama at Georgia. Let's take them in that order. Oregon headed to Happy Valley. Penn State, 3.5-point favorite in this one. How do you see it?
I like Oregon. Penn State's issue from last year and the year before that and the year before that has carried over to this year. They start slow. And you can't start slow against Oregon because Oregon's not going to start slow. No. So Drew Aller is going to need to start that game in third gear instead of the first gear that we've seen for the first couple weeks of the season. You can't play with your food with this one, so I really like Oregon in that spot. Oregon's also quietly become one of my favorite teams in the country just because of the way that Dante Moore's played. So I'm riding with the Ducks against Penn State.
Alabama's been a bugaboo for Kirby Smart and Georgia. Can the Tide go to Athens and win?
I think they can. Honestly, I think Ty Simpson's played a lot better since that Florida State game. He's gotten into a nice rhythm, so I'm really curious to see this is kind of, I would say, redemption for him now going up against a good team. It's in a very similar light to Florida State. So I'm really curious to see what he does. I think Alabama can win, but Kirby Smart's been kind of in his bag. I thought he ran circles around Josh Heupel a couple weeks ago. So we'll see if at the coaching discrepancy or if Kirby Smart can maybe steal a possession or two that ends up costing Alabama the game.
He's Denton Day, SiriusXM's college football overtime every Friday and Saturday night. You can catch him there and you can catch him here on Mondays. Thanks, man.
Hunt, appreciate it as always, my friend.
That is Denton Day from our nation's capital. We'll take a time out. We'll come back. I want to touch on Bruce Pearl's retirement. We'll do that, and then we'll play some Take It or Leave It, get on out of here. Hope your work week's off a good start. Thanks for hanging out with us on this Monday, The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Go to the website. Check out OneBathAndClosets.com. There are great photos of the work that David and his team do. They can transform closets and bathrooms, update them, make them more functional, more gorgeous, and put some value into your home. It's One Bath and Closets. If they want to do a full-scale bathroom renovation, they can do it. They can turn that standing shower into a linen closet, turn that big jacuzzi-style tub into a walk-in shower, relay the floors. They can handle the plumbing. They got a master plumber there under contract. They can handle big projects like that. Or they can do something simple like a tub-to-shower conversion. Just take it right out, but it's 3 to 5 days, David said, depending on the scope of the work. Big or small, One Bath and Closets, happy to help you with your project. So go to the website, OneBathAndClosets.com. Get that free consultation with David. Talk it out with him. If you're looking for financing, they do have 0% up to 18 months, same as cash if you qualify. It's One Bath and Closets. Find them online, OneBathAndClosets.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Rouse's wants to help you cover the spread this football season. We're talking the ultimate tailgate spread, party trays, dips, fried chicken, anything you want to throw on the grill, plus plenty of ice cold drinks to wash it all down. All you have to do is register now at 1045ESPN.com for your chance to win. One winner will be chosen each week, and everyone who registers will be entered into a drawing for a grand prize of postseason tickets. Rouse's markets your tailgating headquarters.
Some breaking news in SEC country today. If you're just getting off work and hopping in the car, Bruce Pearl announced his retirement today, released a 12-minute video talking about his time at Auburn. 11 years on the Plains for Bruce Pearl. Crazy. I can still remember his team making that run in the SEC tournament when they weren't good yet. And you were like, well, he'll probably figure something out. And he sure did. Winningest coach in the history of Auburn basketball, 2 Final Fours on the Plains. And let's remember that Auburn basketball, basically my entire life, has been a doormat in the SEC. The Tony Barbie teams, and they were terrible. And they hired Bruce Pearl, and they built Neville Arena, and they became a national power. That was as intimidating a basketball venue as there was in the country the last 5 years. It just was. And he had great teams that had different personalities. And the one Final Four team he had that was just a high-flying three-point shooting juggernaut. Then you had the team that was led by Janai Broom. And they had a great run because they hired the right coach and invested in the program. And they spent a ton of money on the arena, and they spent a ton of money on the roster, and they spent a ton of money on the coach, and Auburn became relevant. It's the same thing that Tennessee's doing in baseball right now. They got the right coach, and they're spending a lot of money on renovating the entire stadium, and they spend a lot of money in the transfer portal, and they're a national power. And it's just about commitment and making the right decisions. And there are a lot of programs around this conference that are LSU baseball, Kentucky basketball, Bama football, all these kinds that are blue bloods, that are mainstays, that are traditionally always in the top of the sport, and that's transcended coaches. But there are also reclamation projects that happen because of the right coach and the investment. And Auburn certainly did that with Bruce Pearl. I always liked Bruce Pearl. There are plenty of coaches that have been in the Southeastern Conference that I have not liked at all. Bruce Pearl was never one of them. And this is odd timing, obviously, to step away. His son, Steven, is going to be the coach of the team this year. And I would strongly suggest that Auburn look into actually doing a coaching search next year. I'm confident that they will leave it in Steven Pearl's hands as a hat tip to Bruce. That's probably the wrong decision to me, but we'll see. But I would expect Auburn basketball to significantly fall off with Bruce Pearl leaving. I think that's likely what happens. When you're that good and you have that guy and he steps away, the next guy's generally not going to be able to hold up to that. So a brutal basketball league got a little bit easier today when Bruce Pearl stepped away. I don't know what that team's going to look like this year, but they certainly won't have Bruce Pearl running the practices, coming up with the game plans, and coaching on the bench. So interesting news from the Plains of Auburn. A heck of a career for Bruce Pearl if this is it. We'll see if he runs for political office or just steps away. He's 65 years old and has certainly been involved in politics. He goes on Fox News all the time. So we'll see what's next for Bruce Pearl, but a heck of a run on the Plains.
Here's a list of all the coaches who have retired in the 2020. So the last 5 years, here's a list of coaches that are retired. Mike Krzyzewski, Roy Williams, Jay Wright, Jim Calhoun, Jim Boeheim, Tony Bennett, Jim Larinaga, Leonard Hamilton, Lon Kruger, Bruce Pearl.
Yeah, it's a pretty good list.
Pretty good.
Pretty good list. That's a lot of wins.
Yeah, a lot of wins.
Bruce Pearl never climbed the whole mountain. He won a national championship at the D2 level, I believe. Maybe Division III. Either way. Won national championship, but not at Tennessee or Auburn. Certainly not at, I think he was at Cleveland State? That's probably wrong.
I don't know.
Wisconsin, Green Bay, something like that. We can look it up on Wikipedia. Time for Take It or Leave It.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Presented to you by Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer, crafted by America's oldest brewery. Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Was it Milwaukee where Bruce Pearl
There you
was
go.
before Tennessee? Flight by Yingling, next generation of light beer. Looking for a cold six-pack to watch some Monday Night Football. Should be a lot of points tonight in Monday Night Football. Want a cold beer to drink during that? Try Flight by Yingling, next generation of light beer.
All right, first one here. Of course, Bruce Pearl talked about just now, him retiring. And interestingly enough, this is the third coincidence, I should say, maybe not a coincidence, that the Auburn Sports message board page has announced something very substantial before anyone else. They got Brian Harsin getting fired, Nick Saban's retirement before anyone else had it, and now Bruce Pearl's retirement. Get all your breaking news from Auburn Sports message board. Take it or leave it.
People like to talk. Find something out. Got to get it on the internet quickly. So, yeah, I'll take it. That's great.
I'll take it.
Those inside sources there on the Plains.
All right, next one here. ACC has fined Syracuse for faking injuries versus Clemson. Of course, Syracuse got the win there, but they did get a $25,000 fine, and the ACC publicly reprimanded them for faking injuries in the win, calling its actions unethical and contrary to the spirit of the rules. Take it or leave it.
Take it. That's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to fake injuries and get caught doing it. Like that nice win on Saturday makes LSU's win look worse. I got a lot of flack for my tweet that LSU didn't have a quality win yet. But that doesn't help. And yeah, it's embarrassing to fake injuries. Don't do that.
All righty, last one here. Ryder Cup European captain Luke Donald was asked about the fact that the U.S. will be paying stipends to their players, whereas Europe will not, and said that it's possible that the fans at Bethpage Black might turn on Team USA if things start to go south. Said, quote, that could happen. We all know how high the ticket prices are, and it's going to be an expensive trip out for a family of four. If the U.S. players are getting paid a stipend or whatever it is and they aren't performing, the New Yorkers could make them know about it. Take it or leave it.
Well, press warfare.
Warfare?
Little press warfare there for Luke Donald. Leave it.
Just leave it alone.
If the U.S. fans turn on him, I'll be so mad. You're in New York. They're bozos, and those Philly and New York fans are just awful with the way that they treat their home teams. Hopefully, there's a little more decorum with the Ryder Cup, maybe a little support for the Stars and Stripes as opposed to getting on them. I can't trust those big city folks in the Northeast, though. I feel like they could do it, but hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully, we just rout them so they don't get the chance to turn on them.
Here we go this Friday.
Very excited. Very, very excited. Already asked my wife yesterday. I said, Alyssa, we don't have anything on Sunday, do we, when I come home from the pregame, postgame show? Because I'm staying in Kinder on Saturday night. Said, no, I don't think so. All right, well, don't ask me to do stuff because I'm watching the Ryder Cup. Yeah,
unfortunate that LSU's a 2:30 kick on Saturday. It's going to run into it a little bit in the
I'll be in a sports book, so I'll have access. I have about 50 TVs in front of me. I'll be the only one watching the Ryder Cup, but I will be watching it. Looking forward to it. All right, that's it for us. Catch us on demand wherever you find your sound. Matt's going to drive you home next on AFR. We're back tomorrow, same time, same place for a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.